I think there's enough flavour in there to give you something, you know, a bit of satisfaction that you've drunk a nice tasty beer. You get the flavours and that lingering note on the end that just leaves you wanting more. Hey guys, today we have something special. So a few weeks ago, I brewed a dark wheat beer exclusively on the channel, and today we'll be tasting that and comparing it to some commercially available examples of dark wheat beer. Now this dark wheat beer is the very same beer that I've used as the basis for JKB Brewing's first ever commercial beer. So will it stand up, or have I pinned all my hopes and dreams on complete trash? Let's find out. So, if you do want to see that video of where I did create the dark wheat beer, which I'll be tasting today, up here somewhere there'll be a link you can click on and you can go check that out.
So to quickly update you on how fermentation went after the brew day, it went well. Fermented at 24 degrees for 3 days, in which fermentation was coming to an end. So I raised the temperature of the beer to 29 degrees for 4 days for a diacetyl rest before cold crashing for a day, and then after that I packaged into bottles and my mini keg behind the bar.
So the keg version does come in at 4.1% approximately, and then the bottled version is about 4.5% as well. So the beer also does come in around 16 IBUs, so not very bitter at all. So a bit difficult to get my hands on some dark wheat beer actually, so there's not really a lot available. And the few online stores that did have it, they were either sold out, or some of the 1 or 2 breweries I saw that did it, it was like a previous seasonal or limited release, and so they didn't have any, but I did manage to find these two here. Franziskaner Dunkel Weiss. So this is a German dark wheat beer brewed by Spartan Franziskaner Brew in Bavaria. Comes in at about 5% and is described as having a rich velvety mouthfeel and a caramel malty flavour that is surprisingly refreshing. So the second example that we have to try today is the Weiss Dunkel. So this is also a German dark wheat beer that comes in at 5.1%. This is described as having a caramel and gentle roasted flavour with hints of spiciness and fruitiness. So first up, we're going to try the Franziskaner Weissbier. So one of the first things I noticed when I pour it, this is more of like a ruddy brown with a light tan head. The head is quite fluffy. So on the nose, it's sweet and malty. I do get banana, like banana estery sort of vibes going on. And a bit of bread, almost like sweet banana bread. Maybe like a little bit of like caramel as well. Almost like a banana bread dipped in caramel, maybe. Yeah, it definitely is a smooth, rich and creamy mouthfeel. So yes, I don't really get a lot of those banana flavours. It's more like dark fruit sort of notes. Sort of like a little bit of dark dried fruit sort of fruitiness going on. And a little bit of sort of caramel and sweet bread going on. But the breadiness is not as much as it is on the aroma. It's actually more sort of dark fruit in the flavour, really. And yeah, and then there's this hint of bitterness that comes at the end. It's actually quite surprising. Like when you taste it and you smell it, you get all this sweet bread, and then you get this like little sort of bump in bitterness. Like just as you sort of swallow the beer, you get the mouthfeel, and just as that sort of finish starts, you get that little bump in bitterness. It's quite interesting, actually. Quite an interesting element to the beer. Not really a lot going on in the finish, to be honest. Once that sort of little bitterness hits, there's a little bit of like a sweetness that sort of lingers on from some of like the caramel and bread sort of notes going. But yeah, it is actually quite refreshing, actually, and is quite easy to drink. You can actually drink a few of these on a hot day despite the colour. Yeah, quite good, actually. Okay, let's let's crap this open. I prefer not to. I'd rather crack it open than crap it open. Now on to the Massel's Weiss. So again, this one is a bit more mahogany. Well, it's described as mahogany, so I'll probably just pinch that, but it looks like a little bit more of a deeper, richer, like reddish tint to it. It does look a bit darker, or a deeper brown as well. Whereas that one was more like a ruddy brown, almost like a dirty brown. It sounds bad, doesn't it? Calling a beer dirty. It's a bit different on the nose. This one has a bit more of a savoury bread character to it. But I'm still getting like hints of caramel, a little bit more like dark fruitiness on this one. I mean, not the same. I mean, not leagues apart than the previous one. But this is probably a little bit more, as I said, a little bit more like dark fruitiness, savoury bread. Quite smooth, not as velvety and rich as the last one. Dark fruit, a little bit of caramel, it's a bit of like a, I'm not going to say burnt caramel, but almost like a bit of a darker burnt-ish caramel on that kind of way, almost toffee-like. It doesn't have like that little accentuation of bitterness that I found in the last one, but it's almost like a bit more of like a savouriness, like a savoury breadiness on the end there. That's sort of like the accentuating note that I get as that finish starts. And then it lingers on a little bit more than the last one. Not quite as refreshing as the last one, so the last one was more of like a refreshing type of beer. It was almost like a pale wheat beer with a little bit of like darkness and caramel added to it, whereas I think this one here is a little bit more emphasis on those dark grain flavours and the caramelized flavour. The Franziskaner, that was almost like having banana bread with caramel on it. This one here, this is almost like more of like darker burnt-ish fruit and burnt-ish caramel with a little bit of savoury bread character. So, yeah. So with my version, one thing, just from a visual perspective straight away that I can see is this is very dark. Like the other two, you could see through, particularly if you held it up to a light, you could see through it. Whereas with this one, it's dark, it's black, you ain't seeing through that. Even holding it up to a light, you could not see through it. Off-white, sort of light brown tan head, tight bubbles. Yeah, so this smells completely different to the other two. It's a unique aroma because you're getting some of that sour wheat sharpness combining with some like sort of almost coffee-like notes from those dark grains. So I'm not expecting like caramel flavors or dark fruit flavors from this beer because I didn't use any caramel malts. I use roasted wheat. So I'm expecting and hoping for those more roasted flavors. Again, different mouthfeel. So these two, particularly the Franziskaner, that's more of like your real velvety, smooth, silky smooth, just straight in and down, like no resistance at all, kind of velvety smoothness. This is not like that. So not to say it's not drinkable, but this is different. This, when you put it in your mouth, you know it's there. Yeah, can't believe I just said that. So it's still relatively smooth. Not quite as silky like no resistance straight down. Like there's a little bit of hint of like, hey, there's a beer here. I'm a beer and I'm going in. But different mouthfeel, so slightly different. Slightly more firm on the mouthfeel than the other two. That's really the words I'm looking for. In terms of flavour, a hint of wheat sharpness and sourness. So nothing compared to what the aroma gives the impression of, but there's actually a bit more of that coffee. It's almost like a coffee roasted note coming through. But there is like a little bit of a hint of that sour wheat. I'm saying sour wheat. Deary me. It's not a sour bomb, and we're not weeping about it. But there really is this nice coffee-like hint of chocolate, sort of roasted note going on. Something, if I think of like a clean roasted beer, It's like a bit of that vibes going on. And then on a finish, you get a little bit of an accentuation or bump. Got lots of bumps going on today. We get in that wheat sharpness again. You get like this lingering roasted coffee note in the back of the mouth, but also coming like back in through the nose. It's almost like having like a nice smooth coffee, but just not quite that strong. But it's like, imagine if you get that kind of vibe and just sort of tone it down a little bit. That's what you get on the end, just like sort of this very smooth, gentle roasted coffee note. It does actually linger for quite a long time, actually, much more than these two, particularly the Franziskaner. The Franziskaner, the finish was like almost like one and done. You got there and it was done, which does actually make that quite refreshing, actually. This one had a little bit more, but this one probably has the longest finish of the three, and I think it just this nice roasted note that just sits there and lets you ponder it. Like, it is almost like in the morning when you have a really nice coffee and you just have a sip, and then just that sort of that lingering coffee roasted note afterwards, and it just makes you go, oh, how good is this? This is a great coffee. I can just sip and savor it. I think there's enough flavor in there to give you something, a bit of satisfaction that you've drunk a nice tasty beer. You get the flavors and that lingering note on the end that just leaves you wanting more. And I think it's great, and I think you'll think it's great too. But the only way for you to know is to try the commercial variety of this beer. So I thoroughly enjoy this beer, and it's just, I really love that clean roasted note or flavors, like the really, that sort of coffee, chocolate, roasted note. It's quite clean. I love that in beer, and I really love wheat beer, and combine that with wheat beer, and I've just got a love fest going on for this beer right now. And yeah, so that is what I'm trying to bring to you. And if you've made this at home, do let me know. Let me know what you get. What do you think? Or if you have tasted the commercial variety, hopefully by the time this comes out, that it is out too. Well, we'll see. Maybe not. I have no idea how long it's going to take to come out once it's actually brewed. But yeah, anyway, super excited to make this beer. Super excited to try this beer. Loved every minute of it. Just to summarize in the end, the differences between these three brews. So what we get in my version of the dark wheat beer, versus what we get in these German varieties of dark wheat beer. So these are more like bready, caramel, dark fruit, those sort of more traditional flavors that you would associate with like dark beer or dark European beer, or particularly dark German beer, those sort of more traditional fruity, dark fruit, bread, caramel flavors. This is more like a clean roasty flavor with a bit of that wheat sharpness going on. It's almost a bit more like a Belgian wheat beer than a Bavarian wheat beer, which I think is also super cool. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do a dark Belgian wheat beer. Who knows? I guess we'll just have to see. Anyway, thanks guys. Thanks for watching. Please, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification or the bell icon to get the notifications so that you don't miss any of these videos where we make and try these elusive beers. They're great fun, and I hope you find them great fun as well. And also, please remember to keep exploring the world of craft beer. You never know what's out there. You never know what your dark wheat beer will be. And keep supporting those who do bring us these good and unique beer experiences that we're all much better for. Anyway, thanks for watching, and until the next one, cheers. To walk like two out the door, then you have magic.